Adopting flex sales contracts for better client relationships. Lock-in is the fastest way to lose buyer trust. B2B buyers are allergic to lock-in right now, and they're acting on it in the contract. In the software market, 57% of contracts are now 6 months or less, which is a clear signal that just sign a multi-year and we'll figure it out is no longer a default expectation. When procurement and finance see rigid terms and painful exits, the deal doesn't just slow down, it often turns into a no decision. The commercial structure is now part of your product experience. This shift is showing up across outbound. On a cold call, prospects can like your value prop and still hesitate because they can't predict headcount, budgets, or priorities for the next 2 quarters. If your only offer is a fixed term with fixed pricing and a big upfront payment, you force the champion into an internal fight they didn't ask for. Flexibility gives them a safer yes that still protects your revenue. At SalesHive, we've seen how flexibility changes the tone of the relationship from the first conversation. Our outbound programs are built to be easy to start, easy to adjust, and easy to scale, because modern buyers want the same from every vendor they evaluate. The goal isn't to be lenient, it's to be structured in a way that removes risk without creating chaos. Why flexible contracts now win deals and prevent stalls. Buyer behavior changed faster than most contract templates. Average B2B SaaS terms have compressed to roughly 9 to 12 months in many markets, down from the old 24 to 36-month norm, because teams want faster time to value and an easier path to switch if results don't show up quickly. In that environment, rigid agreements read like insecurity, not confidence. Flexibility signals you expect to earn the renewal. The buying process itself is also more fragile than most revenue teams admit. Forrester reports 86% of B2B purchases stall during the buying process, and 81% of buyers end up dissatisfied with the provider they choose, which puts extra weight on anything that adds friction late stage. Terms that feel one-sided can become the final straw, especially when legal and finance are already looking for reasons to slow down. Flexibility is not a nice-to-have, it's a measurable competitive advantage. Research cited in enterprise pricing analysis shows vendors offering flexible pricing models win contracts at a 37% higher rate than those sticking to rigid, fixed pricing. That's why we treat contract design as a sales lever, right alongside positioning, proof, and pipeline velocity. What flexible really means: controlled levers, not exceptions. A flexible sales contract isn't month to month for everyone, it's a small set of predefined options that let a buyer adapt the agreement when reality changes without forcing a renegotiation or a churn decision. The most effective programs separate flexibility into a few levers: term structure, billing cadence, capacity or usage adjustments, and pricing model. When these levers are pre-approved, your team can move faster and protect margin. If you're selling anything tied to adoption and performance, like a sales development agency, an outbound sales agency, or a cold email agency, these levers matter even more. Buyers want to manage risk while they validate results, and you want a clean path to expand when the program works. The right structure gives both sides a rational way to start small and scale into a longer relationship. The common mistake is treating flexibility as a one-off concession at redline time. That approach trains buyers to negotiate harder, forces escalations to legal and finance, and creates inconsistent deal economics. Structured flexibility, sold confidently and consistently, is what improves win rate without turning your contracts into a free-for-all. Build a flexibility playbook your reps can actually sell. Start with a playbook, not exceptions. We recommend defining 3 or 4 standard contract archetypes, then documenting when to use each by segment, deal size, and risk profile. For example, a 6-month pilot, a 12-month term with monthly billing, a ramped multi-year for strategic accounts, and a hybrid usage model. The objective is speed and consistency. Reps should know which option to propose without inventing new terms on every deal. When you do this, flexibility becomes repeatable, trainable, and forecastable. The cleanest way to balance flexibility with predictability is to separate commitment from cash flow. A buyer can commit to a longer term but pay monthly or quarterly, which reduces perceived risk without forcing you into short commitments across the board. In benchmark analysis, 12-month commitments with monthly billing reduced payment-related churn by 18% versus annual prepayment, while keeping retention outcomes similar. That's the kind of flexibility CFOs can live with, because it solves buyer constraints without undermining the relationship. Put guardrails into an approval matrix and make it visible to the team. Reps should know what they can approve, small term adjustments, billing cadence changes, and what requires manager, finance, or legal sign-off, early termination language, custom true-ups, unusual pricing models. This prevents the anything to get it signed trap that creates churn and margin leakage later. Flexible contracts work when they're structured, pre-approved, and sold as risk removal, because buyers don't want loopholes, they want confidence. How SDRs and AEs should use flexibility in real conversations. Flexibility should not be your headline. Value should be. Train your team to anchor on outcomes first: pipeline, conversion rate, time saved, or revenue impact. Then introduce flexible terms as the way you remove decision risk. This sequencing matters because leading with flexibility can sound like discounting, while leading with value makes flexibility feel like a thoughtful accommodation to their operating reality. Done right, it turns late-stage hesitation into forward movement. Your SDR motion should qualify for contract constraints early, not discover them at redline. In addition to pain and budget, SDRs at a cold calling agency or SDR agency should capture fiscal year timing, procurement rules, internal approval paths, and risk tolerance. When the AE already knows the buyer needs monthly billing or a ramp, the proposal feels tailored, and the deal is less likely to stall. This is especially powerful in outbound, where first impressions are made in minutes. In cold calling services and cold email agency campaigns, a simple line about a de-risked start can prevent the "circle back next quarter" objection from ever forming. The goal isn't to promise anything to everyone. It's to make it clear that your company operates like a modern vendor, transparent, adaptable, and easy to do business with. Protecting revenue while giving buyers room to breathe. The fear with flexibility is churn, but rigid contracts can create a different kind of churn: resentment-driven churn, non-adoption, and forced renewals that collapse at the first chance to exit. The better approach is structured flexibility with clear floors and windows, minimum commitments, capped downgrades, and scheduled adjustment points like quarterly true-ups. Buyers get control where they need it, and you protect the economics that keep delivery strong. Offering multiple commitment options can also improve retention and expansion. Benchmarking indicates companies with tiered commitment structures see 12% higher net revenue retention than those with a single, rigid term. That makes intuitive sense. When buyers can choose a structure that matches their risk profile, they're less likely to churn and more likely to expand after proving value. A common mistake is using flexibility as a substitute for fundamentals. If onboarding is weak, outcomes are unclear, or your service is hard to adopt, flexible terms won't save you. They'll just accelerate churn. Treat flexibility as a force multiplier on a strong delivery engine, and pair it with clear success plans so the buyer sees why staying is the obvious decision. Measure and optimize contract offers like you optimize messaging. Revenue leaders. A/B test email copy, but rarely A/B test commercial structure, which is a missed opportunity. Instrument contract-level fields in your CRM, term length, billing frequency, ramp schedule, downgrade activity, and pricing model, and tie them to win rate, cycle length, GRR, and NRR. Then, run controlled experiments where one cohort sees your standard offer and another sees a pre-approved flexible archetype. Review results quarterly and evolve the playbook based on what actually improves outcomes. You should also audit your last 50 close-loss deals for commercial friction. Tag where term length, pricing rigidity, or exit options were cited as reasons for delay or loss, and break patterns down by segment and ACV. This is the fastest way to learn where flexibility will increase conversion without eroding margins. It also gives sales leadership concrete coaching moments rather than vague, negotiate better feedback. Remember that buyer expectations now look like B2C. Research shows 80% of B2B buyers want a consumer-grade purchasing experience, yet 65% say their current B2B experiences don't meet that bar. Commercial clarity, transparent options, and an easy start are part of closing that gap, especially for sales outsourcing and outsourced sales team engagements where speed and trust matter. Putting it into practice, a 60 to 90-day rollout that sticks. A practical rollout starts with alignment, not documents. In the first 30 days, define your 3 to 4 archetypes, write the approval matrix, and train your team on how to position flexibility as risk removal after value is established. In days 31 to 60, update proposals, red lines, and enablement so reps can sell the new structures without constant escalations. In days 61 to 90, turn on tracking, review early results, and tighten guardrails where you see margin leakage or unnecessary complexity. At SalesHive, flexible engagement models are not an experiment. They're core to how we operate. We've booked over 117,000 meetings for more than 1,500 B2B clients by pairing elite SDR execution with contract structures that are easy to start and easy to adjust. That experience matters because it proves you can scale flexibility without sacrificing predictability, especially in pay-per-appointment lead generation and outbound programs where momentum is everything. If you want stronger client relationships, treat contract design as part of your go-to-market, not a legal afterthought. Buyers are telling the market what they want through shorter terms and higher expectations. Your job is to meet them with a small set of confident options. Do that well, and flexibility becomes a durable advantage that helps you close faster, retain longer, and expand more predictably.